The Admiral agenda, it's in the gutter. Yeah, I already know Admiral fans, we're gonna be fighting for our life for a couple months. I'm already knowing. Rocks D Xebec, I wasn't expecting that reveal, at least at this point in the chapter. This is One Piece chapter 1154. A lot of stuff happened in this chapter, so let's get into it. It starts off with Big Mom. We know exactly what happened 63 years ago, how she laid ruin and waste to Elbaph, going crazy, ended up killing Joral's brother, Joral, and just after that, just the calamity and the destruction and just the unfortunate stuff that happened, it was all caused, well, after Big Mom did this, and also what people believe to be Loki's curse. We know in the last chapter that Estrid, she didn't care for Loki, thought he was a creep, thought he was ugly, and so she threw him into the underworld. And we know the panel of Loki climbing back up after decapitating a bear. We know Estrid that she is bedridden because she is sick. However, Loki, he ended up making it back to the castle. My boy is destructive. He is a big old baby. He tried to get into Estrid's room, trying to get to his mama, trying to see that warmth, feel that warmth, just wants to be with her. And so he goes and attempts to, snuggle with her, cuddle with her, and she started freaking out. She's like, nah, like, stay back, get this monster away from me. The guards, they're like, Loki, you gotta go, you can't be in this room. Loki is crying. All he wants is his mother's love. And she even talked about his eyes, how they need to gouge out those eyes because his curse is going to bring ruin to the nation. And honestly, we see later in the chapter how Loki had the bandages over his eyes. At first I thought that they literally gorged his eyes out and he didn't have them anymore, but that's not the case. It's just, I guess, because of what his mother's statement was, that he decided it would be best for him to cover his eyes. Because of the tragedy that's happening at Elbaph, they suffered famine, right? People couldn't fish, didn't have any food. The last little piece of bread was given to the children. Everybody's starving, everyone's hungry. And so people, like I said, are blaming this on Loki's curse. They end up going to Ida and Harald and is like, hey, you're the older brother. And since Loki, he brought this famine and this unfortune to Elbaph, you have to atone for this. So they go and they start trying to attack him. Obviously, Ida, Harald and his mother, she's stepping in and is like, nah, you don't got to do that. You don't have to worry about that. They start attacking Ida, and guess who shows up? None other than King Harald. Because everyone was only thinking about themselves. They're like, hey, since we're suffering from this famine, let's go steal, let's go plunder, let's go take from the humans, because that's what we used to do. And obviously, the way that Harald is trying to change and shift Elbaph is that they don't have to do this. And Harald, he says all the hard work that he had put in has paid off, because they're different allies that have he reached out to, that's acting and assisting them without hesitation. Like, they have food now. They have food from the different allies, that the connections that Harald built, not based off of violence, not based off of trying to get over on people, plunder off that. No, just genuine companionship, genuine care for each other. They were able to assist them in this tough time. So I think this is where the Giants truly started to realize and understand why Harald said what he did, why it's important to cultivate these relationships rather than just be superior. Because guess what? If they were trying to plunder and were trying to steal from people, maybe it would have worked out, but eventually it wouldn't. And so, like I said, having these relationships allowed them to survive. And so I love it, right? That means Harald's hard work, it's not going to vain. This part really broke my heart because, well, not Estrid dying. Estrid passed away, forget her. But Harald, he finally got to see his son, and so he holds Loki and is like, hey, this is my son. But he's like, whoa, why aren't you reacting? Why aren't you interacting with me? And this is because after a few months of being born, Loki has officially given up on love. Now, I know what people are going to say, it's only been a few months, but babies are smarter than you think. Only after a few months of not getting the proper love, not getting the proper care, you're honestly it's going to change them. And so Loki not experiencing that love and the warmth of being embraced, he's at the point where he's like, it is what it is. And so Harald, he is a good father. I don't think he's bad, but it's just where he's at in his life. He has to go on these different adventures, trying to, you know, be a part of the world government, trying to build trust with different humans. And so he's, like I said, constantly leaving Elbaph, and he can't raise Loki by himself. So Loki, obviously, and, you know, there's a figure that he met at the end of the chapter that he's going to follow that path. It reminds me a lot of Levi from Attack on Titan. We know what Levi is now, after meeting Erwin and joining the Scouts, but before then he was really bad, right? He was killing people, and that's because the only parental figure that he had was Kenny the Ripper, and well, Kenny was a killer. So yeah, that's why Levi ended up following that path. So as it's similar to Loki, he doesn't have anybody to look up to, and the one person, which is Xebec, that he did look up to is not a nice guy. So apparently Harald, he got to attend a reverie. He was a friend's bodyguard, and so he talked about how he had so many questions, so many things he wanted to bring up, but obviously he couldn't, because if he did, then they would have questioned that he was the king of Elbaph, and then a lot of stuff would have went down. And so Jarl, he talked about how it's a good thing that your cover wasn't blown, because Harald would have ended up like the Galera Warhammer company. And if you guys don't know who they are, according to Jarl, apparently they were giant shipwrights, and they were known for their warhammers, and apparently all of them were ancient giants, and so all of them ended up being captured and were prisoners. The first thoughts I thought about these ancient giant like shipwrights, I thought of the Noah. I thought, hey, maybe the giants, that they were the one to build the Noah, because, well, that's a big old ship. So like, who else was going to be the people that built a ship that massive? But we come to the conclusion that the reason why Harald, his ideas haven't come to fruition is because it has nothing to do with Harald. It has to do with the world government, and probably the animosity that they have towards the giants. Hence why, like I said, those Warhammer giants, like, they were prisons. So yeah, Harald, he had a lot of work to put in. But if you guys have made it this far into the video and you're enjoying the content, let me know by leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and hitting the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a new video. I promote different One Piece content almost each and every day. Loki's suffering, you can understand why he's the way he is. I already made the Levi comparison earlier. It's just so unfortunate how he has to use violence and, you know, just being a brat and just not a nice person as a way to gain attention, because Estrid, like, she didn't want him, right? She wanted him to be killed. Harald, he's not around. It's not that Harald's a bad father, but he's not there. And so typically it's the mom's job to watch them, at least in this like culture, right? Because we see what's Ida, how her and Hasruden have that relationship. And so Loki's going on these different rampages with, you know, the monsters that he befriended in the underworld, all because he wants attention. He wants someone to notice him. And part of that is why he treats Hasruden the way that he does, why he bullies him, why he hits him, why he's like, hey, you're not worthy. It's also cool that we got to see some of the new giant pirates here. We got to see Jerd and other members. I don't remember their name, but, you know, they've been friends with Hasruden for a long time. And something that stood out to me was while Loki was on his rampage, he was about to attack a mother that was protecting their child. And so Loki, he ended up not attacking them. He ended up jumping and falling, you know, in the underworld, and he's crying because he saw that the mother's warmth and the mother trying to protect the child, that's something that he never experienced. And he talks about how he can't even die. And this is reminiscent to Kaido, how he was jumping off different sky islands and he couldn't even die. So like I said, seeing Loki here, seeing these emotions, it breaks my heart, because he was not a monster. They made him into a monster. Doflamingo's different. Doflamingo was always going to be that crazy dude. Like, his father, his mother, they showed him love. They were there. He always wanted slaves, always wanted, you know, to rule over others like that. And Loki is not the same. He wanted that warmth. He wanted to be loved, and so he wasn't. And everyone started blaming him and calling him, you know, a curse, saying that he brought different tragedies on the island. Like, that weighs on them. And I don't want to necessarily condone Loki's actions, because he's hurting innocent people too. But some of those people deserve it, because They made him into this monster. While Loki is crying, someone pulls up. It is none other than Roxy Xebec. He's there with Shiki, with Stussy, there with Whitebeard. So I assume that these are the first couple members of the Rox part. So that's pretty cool. Another thing to note is that the Admiral agenda, it's in the gutter. Yeah, okay, to be fair, all right, Rox is argued to be the strongest character in the series. He ended up killing an admiral, and that's how he got such a massive bounty. So yeah, I already know Admiral fans, we're gonna be fighting for our life for a couple months. I'm already knowing. But Rox is looking for Harald. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because he noticed him at the Reverie. Not entirely sure. We also got to see Rox's reveal in this chapter. He looks sick. I love his design. I was not expecting the reveal to happen in this chapter. I was expecting it probably to be more so with Blackbeard's backstory, especially because Rox is the father of Blackbeard. So we have a lot of important figures who have important daddies. I thought that Blackbeard just looked up to Rox. I didn't know that they were blood related like this. It doesn't shock me necessarily. I just didn't think it was going to happen. You got Shanks with Shamrock, Luffy with Garp and Dragon, and now you got Rox and Xebec, and then I guess technically Ace and Roger. But yeah, Rox's design looks sick. I don't know how Whitebeard didn't notice, or maybe he did and he still allowed him on the crew. I'm not sure. I don't know how he didn't notice Blackbeard looked exactly like Xebec. So yeah, because that's definitely his daddy. But that's it for chapter 1154. Let me know how you guys feel about this chapter in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a new video. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. It's on the screen and in the description below. And don't forget to unleash your potential.